Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunt the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bowlds, and this is episode 9. Today, I'm joined with actually a fun guest, a co-host from the first podcast, Brett Morris from Blue River Bowhunting, and Hunter, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher his last name, Parrett.
That's right.
And he's a Mississippi boy, and we're going to talk some gator hunting and some deer hunting. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing
Brett?
good. I'm interested in talking about these gators. I'm from a cornfield in the middle of nowhere. We ain't got gators where I'm from, so it's definitely be a cool conversation to have.
Oh man, it's fun. I mean, you get a gator on the end of the rod and reel. So you got a dinosaur. You got to fight. It's unreal.
Oh, I bet it's definitely exhilarating, probably more than you can even explain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hunter, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're from, what you kind of do for a living, or about your business and stuff?
Yeah. So my name's Hunter Parrett. I'm from Yazoo City, Mississippi, around the edge of the Delta, and grew up in Mississippi, kind of bounced around a little bit. Grew up hunting mostly public land with my dad and stuff. And then we kind of moved around the state and ended up here where I'm at in Ackerman. And luckily I had a big shop and started with a business with GatorTaker Hooks. It was actually just for me and my buddies. And then it rolled into something a lot more, which is kind of cool, but it's still a midnight gig. My day job is I'm an instrumentation control technician for Southern Company here in Choctaw County where I'm living now. And it's a great job. I enjoy it. Great company to work for. But then of course, I live to hunt, not to work. So it's fun. It's a fun gig, being able to go do the day job during the day and then come home in the evening time and then kind of switch over to, a hunting industry type job where I can connect with other hunters and have opportunities like this.
How do you first get involved in hunting? Like when you were a kid, did you grow up like shooting small game, or did you start attacking alligators at a young age?
No, I didn't start doing that until a couple of years ago, actually. But no, I grew up hunting. Anytime my dad was going out, I'd try to go with him, tag along. And then we started into the small game hunting. Actually, my first small game was a black squirrel in the Mississippi Delta, which was pretty neat. Huh. We done that for a couple of years. And, of course, just kind of he kept adding on to it. My dad's a huge outdoorsman, huge hunter, good woodsman. So he brought me into it at an early age, and they were so advanced hunting public land that it's crazy. They could have invented so many things that they were trying to keep secret for themselves that ended up seeing a Walmart 5 years later. It's unreal the number of ideas they had. I mean, they were going to the courthouse, getting topo maps and like scouting out public land and finding little nicks and funnels. And I was sitting there as a kid, watching them find these funnels and find these, little spots to hunt. And, of course, the little tacks that you see all over the woods now on public land, reflective tacks, they started that. You didn't see a one in the woods. And then next thing you know, like 3 years later, you walk in the woods and they're everywhere. And so my dad had me like making the clothespins, sticking the red reflective tape on those. And then a couple of years, of course, they're out there now. So, and the carts, like where you haul your deer out, they started making those out of lawn chair and wheelbarrow tires to begin with, and then developed it into something, over the years. And then next thing you know, a couple years later, it's on Walmart. I always pick him. I said, man, you could have done so many things. So yes, but it's fun. I grew up, and that's all. My dad's a huge hunter, so I was heavily influenced by him.
Did they hunt gators when you were a kid? I guess not.
No, Mississippi season. I think it started in 2005 was the first season.
Okay.
And it was very, very limited at that time. It was only for the the reservoir down in the Jackson area. And that was the only place you could gator hunt at first. And they kept expanding it. And now we have like 7 different zones you can hunt, like 164 tags are put out through the state now. So it's really grown. The sport's grown a lot. So.
How did you have a buddy or something that got you introduced in it, or did you just like wake up one day and you're like, I want to slay some gators?
No, actually my dad got into going with some of his buddies. And then I got the opportunity one weekend to go with them and do some gator hunting and fell in love with it, man. Like I said, once you put one rod and reel on a gator and get that fight, it's pretty addictive. So like I said, it took one season with him and his buddy, and after that, my buddy got tags, and me and him went and hunted, and then the next year I had tags, and it just kind of kept steamrolling and building. Learned a lot of hard lessons through the years.
So are you? I don't know anything about gator hunting. And Brett, you don't really either, do you?
No, they don't have that sort of thing where I'm from. I mean, I know this is would almost probably not offend you, but like the only thing I've ever seen when it has to do with anything that is just like what's been on TV, like the Swamp People or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Which I know how it is because I was into duck hunting for a long time, still am, you know, and people would associate that with, you know, like Duck Dynasty and stuff. And they're like, oh, you make your own duck calls and you try to grow a beard. I'm like, I grow a beard because I'm a man, for one. And I duck hunt because it's something I'm into. It's not because I've seen it on a TV show. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, actually, you know, I mean, of course, Swamp People, they're some of my customers. Not all of them, of course, but some of them do run my hooks, which is really cool. You know, watching the TV show. But we do it, you know, of course, every state has different rules and different methods that you can use. Florida is, I mean, not Florida, Louisiana, or Swamp People's film, of course, is like different than everything else. I mean, of course, you can use a rod and reel there just like we do, but they can hang bait with the hook. They're the only state that you can do that as far as just regular hunting. Like nuisance trappers in all the states can do that. But they're the only ones that can do that, and they can't hunt at night. The rest of the states, you can hunt at night. And so for using the method that we use in Mississippi, we do it at night. You know, we go out and scout them all season, you know, preseason, scout them like a deer. And we go in and we basically spot stalk the gator and get close enough to him, you know, within really you have to be in 30 yards. You know, you can stretch it out sometimes a little further. And then you cast over his back and then start reeling and foul hook the gator. And then the fight's on.
That sounds awesome, man. Really, yeah. I would love to try something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to get you down here.
I'm ready.
Why do most guys hunt those? They hunt them for meat? Or are they just for the thrill of it?
A little bit of both. I mean, the meat's really good, but it's also just an absolute adrenaline rush. It's and you know, of course, population and conservation. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, you have to be conservatives of the land because I mean, they go unchecked. It gets, I mean, people's dogs come up missing. You know, you start having problems when they get overpopulated. So that's a lot of it's population control too. But it's just absolutely fun, and you can get your hides turned into wallets or whatever you want. I know a lot of some people's got boots made and stuff. So it's cool to have something that you can wear out in public that you hunted and killed. I mean, you're not going to see somebody walking around with like a deerskin hat or something, you know, but you can have a, you know, gator made into a hat. So it's pretty cool. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with your animal, and you can use the hide and, you know, meat, and then you, of course, can skull mount or whatever. So
do you guys, would you skin that out yourself, or would you and take the hide somewhere, or does like the taxidermist do all that for you?
A little bit of both. It just depends on how tired we are when we get off the water. Yeah. What kind of night we just had. You know, if it's a runt gator, of course, in Mississippi, you get a 2 gator tags, and one of them can be over 7 foot. And so basically, what we say is we have a big gator and we have a runt gator. You know, if we have some runt gators, we may just skin those out ourselves. It's not that big of a process. But if it's a big gator and it's a long night, I've got a buddy that's right there off the boat ramp from where I hunt. He's a processor. And I just swing it in there and drop it off with him, and he takes care of it.
I know a lot of like deer hides around, you know, Indiana and stuff get scrapped and thrown in dumpsters and everything else. Do you guys save every hide?
No, I mean, not necessarily. Just depends. Like, so especially at the processor, I mean, you get options when you show up. I mean, you can, like this year, you have the option of selling the meat and then keeping your hide in your skull. And a lot of people have done that. A lot of people, and most people, especially when you get something made, you want the belly. And so you don't get the horn back across the back into the big ridges, the scoots. And I actually got the guy to send me like 6 gators this year. And I put them in a bucket of water and just check them. They're about done. But getting the scoots, the bones off the back, and people do all kind of different, you know, decor stuff with them or whatever. I'm probably going to try to make a table and epoxy resin pour over the top of it.
I'm curious to know what one of those costs to have like tanned. Do you have any idea?
I want to say it's like $20 a foot.
$20 a foot.
Hey, man.
No, it's not terrible. I mean, like I said, and really with his setup, I mean, you just go up there and drop the gator off, and then he sends it out to the tannery, and then he gets it back. So, but you can send it to different tanneries. I mean, I think there's one over in Florida, and there's one in Texas. You can send it to if you want to do it yourself.
What's a mount cost around Indiana, Brett, for a deer? You know,
I pay $5.50 a piece for mine.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to put that in perspective. That is pretty cheap. $20 a foot doesn't sound too bad.
No, it's not too bad. And I mean, of course, I think it's around you're gonna pay $10 to $15 depending on the gator and the taxidermist to get a skull mount done. That's about what it's gonna cost you to get one. That's per inch. So they'll measure the skull from the tip of the nose to the back of the head plate, and whatever that measures out, multiply it by $10 to $15, and that's what you'll pay. And it's worth it, I promise you. I've done a couple of skull mounts, and it's not like a deer. They fall into about 40 different pieces.
Really?
What kind of money are you looking at as far as your tags go?
So for resident tags, which is only tags you give out in Mississippi, it's like $200 plus your tags plus your hunting license. So it's like $250 total is what you get charged, and you get the 2 tags with that. So it's not too bad. I know Florida, it's about the same. It may be a little cheaper for a resident, but non-residents can put in for Florida tags, and then it's $1,000. But you get 2 tags with that, and you can kill whatever size gators you want to kill. It's not limited to one big and one small like it is in Mississippi.
That seems like a high dollar amount for a resident, even.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not too high. We all.
Oh yeah, I pay more than that just to go other places, so I understand that.
Pay to play.
Absolutely.
So I have to ask, do you guys keep track of these gators? Are you on public or private land? Probably public, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do have private land tags available for but it's pretty strict rules on getting those. I've tried a couple of different farmers to get them like leases, but I have been unsuccessful. But yeah, we have public land tags. That's what we're hunting. We're hunting, and it's all rivers, that you can hunt, and then they designate certain lakes that you can hunt as well.
You guys ever keep track of those gators? Is that like a thing? Like you inventory deer? Do you inventory alligators?
Absolutely. 100%.
Really?
We scout, we'll start scouting right after mating season, like late spring, and start scouting. So basically all summer we're scouting gators at night, going by and looking at them and taking an inventory. And of course, we drop pins on them. We name them whatever, there's no telling what the name may be. I mean, we've got the gators named. We killed one 2 years ago. It's called Longhead. We've got a gator called Sunshine. We've got Big Papa, Pooh Bear, White Eyes. All kind of whatever happened, whatever it is at the time that we see the gator, we just name them and then keep rolling.
What's a big characteristic that goes into like naming them? Is it like their heads are all like antlers are what we go off of for deer, right. But do some of them have wacky tails, or is it mostly like head features?
Head feature. I mean, that's really most of the time it's all you're going to see when you're scouting there in the water swimming.
Yeah.
But you get an idea of how much of neck that's out of the water with their head, and then if you can see how long their head is, you can get a good idea there. And then it's sometimes it's location. Like we have one called Pooh Bear, and it's because we saw him in the river and he swam over to a bank and went down. We got next to that bank, we could see slides and see tracks. And so naturally, I go over there and I get out of the boat and look at the tracks, and just right over the edge of the river, there's this big lake right there. I was like, oh, you got him a little honey hole right there. That's what he's doing. And we've never seen this gator. We've been through that area a bunch, And so it's like, that's old Pooh Bear, a little honey pot. It's just, sometimes it's silly stuff like that. Like we had one named, my buddy actually killed him this year. He was 12'8". We named him Ezekiel because we were sitting there like, what's going to be this gator's name? What's going to be this gator's name? My girlfriend goes, what's your name? And it's like Ezekiel,
Yeah, right. That's pretty funny.
So, and, of course, if he pops up right next to the boat, we had the long head. He popped up right next to the boat. And we're like, did you see how long his head was? Yeah. I mean, he went straight down as soon as he come up. It was like, that's Longhead, dropping a pin on him. So, I mean, just whatever happens at the time, whatever story's behind the gator. That's how he gets his name.
Do those gators stay in like the same area for the most part? Do they ever like really migrate?
During mating season, they will. They'll move around a lot looking for females. But typically, no, they're going to be within. There's some gators that have a bigger range, just like deer do. But for the most part, they'll be. You drop a pin right there, you'll see. You go back, and he'll be within 50 to 100 yards of that pin.
Wow.
Huh.
That's his. I mean, they're so territorial.
Yeah. When is the mating season?
The mate. What's that?
When is the mating season?
It's late, early. I mean, it's kind of mid spring to late. May kind of ends for Mississippi. So somewhere right around like late April, early May. That's when they're mating in Mississippi.
That's cool. How do you guys kill them once you get them hooked? I mean, you're dragging them up to the boat. You grab them with your hands and wrestle them, or you shoot them, or what?
We get down the water and just get after it with a pocket knife.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Strokes for different folks.
We do kill some of them with a knife, but it's very controlled, very precise how we do that. But no, typically we shoot. So in Mississippi, it's Mississippi laws. You can kill them with a shotgun. Under 6 shots, your biggest. So we shoot I shoot a 410 high brass 6. That's what I use. Some people use 12 gauge or 20 gauges, but typically everybody's going to shoot a 6 shot because that's just the biggest you can hunt with. And then of course you can knife them, and that's just how we do that. That's how we do it. We bring them in the boat and stick their head over the edge of the boat, and then just slide the knife in right there at the base of the skull. So.
Is there a reason you would choose that over shooting them?
Just preference. Sometimes, the hunter wants to. And typically we do it with a smaller gator, especially if we're not in a hurry. It's just kind of whatever, hanging out because of the rule of it has to be under 7 foot. We bring our gators in the boat and stretch them out and then put a string across them and then measure the string to make sure we're good. And we've killed some that was very close, like a 16th inch off. We measured him like 5 times just to make sure. And then he's already in the boat. It's just not that hard to just, slip the knife out and just give him a poke versus putting him back in the water and getting the gun out and shooting him and all that. Sometimes it's just convenience.
I was going to ask you if do you ever catch him and let him go? At that point?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. We let a lot go. I mean, now we don't as much, but when we first kind of really got into it and really learning and just kind of younger in the sport, we would catch a lot of gators and release them. I think one year I had 2 guys that had never been before. It was my 4th year of hunting. I just really started figuring it out, And so we went around for 2 nights and put 20 gators in the boat and killed 3 of them. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun, and I got to learn a lot. I got to, especially learn how to handle the gator when you get him up to the boat. Like that's a big thing that in the gator hunting world, a lot of people have kind of different opinions about. And, I'm not going to tell you or anybody that your method is better than mine or whatever. I know what works for me, and I share that information, and I expect people to take that information and apply it to their situation. And so, but, of course, you hook the gator, and typically we try to get 2 rod and reels in the gator. That's, preference because, sometimes lines break or whatever. He goes under a log. Stuff happens gator hunting. And we have what we call our hand line hook that especially if it's a big gator, it's just a bigger, heavier hook that's attached to some mule tape, a little flat rope. And we'll throw it out there and drag bottom with it and hook them. And that way we can kind of man them on up to the boat. And, of course, we have our snare pole. We hook them around the neck with a snare pole or just a regular top beaver snare, with a buoy attached to it. And then, so once we've got the gator under control, then we can kind of start taking our time with him. And we have a boat pole that will hook up underneath his jaw and pull it to us, and that'll keep his mouth from opening. And then somebody can grab on to the snout. You don't want to get your hands down too low because if he does roll and get off, now your hand is like in the middle of his mouth range. So we grab him on top of the mouth. So if he rolls off, you're away from him. You're not on the side of him, I guess. So that's something that we picked up at the class that you sometimes you have an option to go to a class in Mississippi every year put on by Ricky Flint, who's over the alligator hunting program. And that's one thing we picked up from his class that helped us because we were kind of grabbing them, down just a little bit. And now we always grab them at the top. And then, of course, let's shake their mouth up real good. And then you can bring them in the boat. And typically, say 9.9 times, like once you get them in the boat, they are calm. Like they are like, what's going on? This isn't right. And they just kind of soul up a little bit. Sometimes we have had them taped and kind of like walking over them back and forth, and they get a little antsy when you're doing that. But for the most part, you get them in the boat, they're pretty calm, and everybody gets a chance to take a picture with them and let them back go.
Does it hurt them when you snag them? Like if you snag one and bring it in and then you let it go, I mean, I guess they heal up from that pretty easy.
Excuse me. Yeah, they heal up pretty quick. I mean, typically, of course, a hook's not very big. I mean, it's a small hook, and I like to use a 6/0 hook. That's my favorite hook. And so you're not talking about a very big hole in the gator. And we really don't like using the big willy hook unless we're going to kill it anyways, because and I learned this from one of my outfitters down in Florida. That's a big hook, and their lungs aren't very deep inside their chest cavity. They're kind of a long, skinny animal. And he said, when they're trying to catch them in the wild as a nuisance gator and then bring them somewhere like a gator farm or something, he said they've had them die from puncturing them in the side with one of those big hooks. So we really don't use it. And they do bury in pretty far. I mean, that's, we try not to use that if we know we're going to release it.
Could you like maybe tell us how big like the hook is, like compare it to something like an object? Like is it as long as a toothpick or is it shorter than that?
Hold on 1 second. Will you run go grab me a 16/0 hook? Yeah. Grab me a 16 and a 6. I don't have any 20s poured up. So yeah, we'll just show you. How about that?
Okay. I'm kind of interested because, I mean, is it like a regular, like a catfish hook we'd use around here, or is it a lot bigger than that?
Yeah, I mean, so your 6s are pretty small. I mean, they're not very big. But like the 20, of course, I don't have any poured up right now. Like the whole weight of that hook is all like 2 pounds, 13 ounces. I mean, it's a huge hook. And it's more of one of those hooks. I mean, I have a lot of customers who use them and love them. I just don't. I mean, I probably sell 200 of those hooks a year. Compared to a 16/0 hook where I sell probably close to 1,200. But it's one of those hooks. It's like, oh, that ain't a hook. This is a hook right here. This huge thing. No, but they're really big. But the 16 to me is like the perfect size. And of course, I'll have one in just a second. But that's your good handline hook. And we got a 14 too. That's a handline hook. It works pretty good, but it's just, it's a little bit smaller than the 16.
I had a question. You were talking about you taking them to the processor after you brought them in and that you had the option to sell them. Right. Is it something that you could make a profit on even after being on your boat and spending money on gas and tags and all that kind of thing?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, so like the way, of course, they were selling the meat, and we sold one gator this year for meat. I think so the 8-foot gator is what it was. And so you get $8 a foot for that gator's meat. And if it would have been a 12-footer, we'd have got $12 a foot. So it's you're not really making any money off of it at all. But the market's kind of plummeted too on the gator hides and stuff. So it's just it's not what it used to be. I know used to it was maybe close to its height, like $20 a foot. And you can sell the meat and sell the hide too. So you can get a little bit more money, but you won't recoup your money. I mean, it's an expensive habit, just like any other hunting.
Right. So you're doing it purely out of passion. I didn't know if anybody tried to turn that in that whole system into like a profit game at any point.
You could do that like they do in Louisiana, where you have so many tags and you're running lines, and so you can put 10 gators in the boat. Then it can be worth it. But for us, where we get 2 gators, we just couldn't catch enough because it's just like any business. You have an upfront cost, and you have to clear that cost and start getting into profit. Well, with only having 2 gators, you can't get into that profit margin.
Right. So now, when the processor takes that meat, do they sell to like local restaurants or just have like a locker people can come buy meat, or how's that work?
No, so he has to sell it to he can sell it to a restaurant. I mean, it has to be a licensed business. But he has one person in the like a wholesaler that he sells. He sells all the meat to. That's 14. They're on the shipping table and a green bin. Sorry. All right, so here is a 10-aught hook. That's my most popular hook right here. If you get an idea on the size.
Oh yeah, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, this one is like 3.5 ounces, 3.7 ounces. And so that's my number one seller by far. And this one actually is an extra strong hook. My number one seller is a bronze hook. Most people don't care whether it's extra strong or, or just a regular bronze hook. So, and then of course this is an 8-aught hook she brought me. You can see it here. It's of course comparison.
Can I ask you what's the long piece behind the hooks in the back? Is that for weight?
Yeah, so the design of the hook, I don't know if I can hold it up just right so you can see it. You see how the tips kind of sit up a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so when I designed this, the typical hook that you can buy is all the leads right here. I mean, just a little short, round ball of lead, basically. And just a Do-It mold sells it. And I was pulling up, reeling in, cast out a gator, reel it in. I was getting like leaves and mud, like that gumbo clay mud on the tips of my hooks. And I was like, man, if we had something that tip would just sit up just a little bit and ride in the water at this angle, we wouldn't be getting hung up as much. And that was the whole basis of the beginning of the design of the hook. I mean, I spent probably 2 years looking for this hook because I was just going to wanted to buy them. And I found one that was kind of close in design, but the lead stopped, just right past here. And my dad brought it home. I was like, hey, man, I found that hook you've been talking about. And I was like, sweet. And then I was like, it's just not it. So I came home and made a wooden mold and sent it to a machine shop and let them make me some molds out of aluminum. And he charged me a lot more than I expected. So it's, for me and my buddies. And I was like, I'm going to sell a couple of these and make my money back. And the hook sets that we were getting were incredible. It kind of shocked me, to be honest with you. I mean, because typically it's one of those things that if you get any slack in your line, the gator's coming off. You're not getting it in past the barb. And we were getting 2 hooks all the way in past the barb. And it was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then it completely took off, and it is what it is today just from that. And, okay, so she brought me a 16. This is the big 16-aught hook.
Dang.
Man, how'd you like hook a gator with that, Brett?
Oh, it's fun. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but one of my customers I just went hunting with, he does it a lot, and he'll hook a gator fresh with one of these hooks. He'll see the bubbles, and in Mississippi, we don't get, where I'm hunting, you never see the bubble trail and can go to it. But we're in Florida, you could, and he'll ease up to that bubble trail and throw this hook first. And when you hook it, it's on. You don't have any drag. It's just your hand and the rope, He said it'll burn a little bit, but once the boat starts moving, you can kind of hold it at that point.
Can you hold that up next to your hand?
Yeah. Well, still like this.
Yeah. So anybody listening on anything other than YouTube, it's the size of his hand, maybe a little bit shorter. You know how many inches it is? Probably 6 inches.
Let's see. I mean, yeah, probably close to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give perspective to the listeners that aren't watching on YouTube, because it can be kind of tricky.
That can be difficult at times, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a big hook, but it's it definitely, of course, it's a little heavier than what you can typically find, so it sinks to the bottom, and your current doesn't affect it and all that. So that's a cool thing about it. So
I've had gator meat before from like a gator park in Florida, where you go and you look at all the gators and all that stuff. I wasn't really too turned on by it. Do you think it was because it came from that place? It was a little bit it's kind of like I was eating a bouncy ball. Is it like that? Is that the normal texture and taste of it, or did I just get a bad batch? It was fried.
So I used to work at a restaurant that sold gator in college, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I am now. I mean, when I cook it, not just me, like other hunters have cooked it, and it's good. And the way we cook it is it's all about preparation, just like your deer meat or anything else. You got to marinate it and soak it. We use buttermilk. So the acid in that buttermilk can break down that meat a little bit and tenderize it more than just, whacking it, with a meat tenderizer on your counter. So that's what we do. We marinate it overnight, and buttermilk and like Worcestershire sauce and Dale's and a little seasoning. And then we fry it up the next day. And it's one of those things where you want to eat it kind of as it comes out the grease, you know, kind of grab it and put it in your comeback sauce and go ahead and start eating it as soon as it cools off. And we normally serve it as like an appetizer kind of deal. Like if we're going to be grilling a backstrap or something like that, it's going to take, a while to grill or smoking something. We'll kind of start out with some gator bites just kind of as a little appetizer. But you don't want to eat them hot. I mean, that's kind of, a big thing is I'm not a big fan of them cold. But fresh out of the grease when they cool off, I mean, they're hard to beat.
Absolutely. There's a restaurant in downtown Indy that me and my wife have been to a few times called Dick's Last Resort. Is where they put the paper bag on your head and make fun of you and shit. Yeah. They have gator balls as an appetizer, and that's what we always get. We really like it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, of course, you can get boudin made out of the gator meat at the processor and, sausage and stuff, mix it with pork. That's pretty good. And actually, the guy I went with in Florida, he smokes his, like, if he gets one 4 to 6 foot, he likes to smoke it, for a couple of hours. And he said you pull that bone out, and it's just, basically like a barbecue almost, kind of pulled pork.
Making me hungry.
Man, it's just, like I said, he bragged about it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to try that out. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good anyways.
About how much meat do you get off, like I know this is a vague term, but an average size gator?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say average runt gator, and that's the gators I prefer to eat. I mean, just they're that right size. I mean, it's like anything else. Once it gets old and big, it's a little tougher.
How many feet would that be?
Like it's like a 7 footer or big 6, so 6.5, 6'10", somewhere in that range. You get a pretty good amount of meat off of it. I say you probably get 30 pounds, maybe 40, off of something that size.
Ain't bad. That's more than I thought it'd be.
Oh, yeah. And they have basically it looks like a backstrap going down, like it's like a loin or something, like right at the base of their tail going down. And on the smaller ones, I have, butterfly those like a backstrap and stuffed with cream cheese and jalapenos wrapped in bacon. And it was really good. I tried it on a big 12-footer, and it wasn't very good.
Are they pretty hard to skin?
If you don't know what you're doing, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I actually went down to Florida with another outfitter and watched them skin a 10-footer, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's not how I've been doing it. So once I learned the method of how to do it, efficiently, it's not that bad. You basically start, depends on how you want to save the hide, where you start at, but if you lay them down, you got 2 people on a table, you can knock it out pretty quick.
So I'm kind of curious, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen out in that boat, gator hunting? Like, you ever seen anybody fall in or get attacked or bit or
with the hook? I mean, I have seen somebody get bit while we were hunting, but it wasn't in a boat. I was with an outfitter, and we caught a gator, and when he was releasing the gator, it jumps up and bit him on top of the head, like up here, and, come all the way down. It was like 26 stitches. It was pretty serious. But it was, of course, how they are in Florida, whole Florida man news. He's like, oh, man, I'm fine. Y'all catch another gator. I'm like, no, man, we're going to the hospital. He's like, oh, no, man. He wrapped it up like a T-shirt. I was like, I'm good. Of course, it wasn't very deep or anything, but it was a good scratch across his head. But yeah, I mean, we have flying carp in Mississippi. I don't know if y'all have those. I know they're in like the Ohio River and stuff.
Yeah, we have them definitely out west of Indiana here along the Illinois River is really bad, and Wabash here in Indiana is really bad. Any kind of trolling motor you're out in there, they just fucking start going crazy.
Yeah. One night we were out gator hunting in Lake George and hadn't been there long, kind of easing up, and they're terrible in that lake. And of course, they're jumping in the boat, slapping everybody, slamming everything up. And one of them hits the hydraulic line for the steering on the motor and busts it. And so we're 6 miles down and didn't have a trolling motor on this boat. And it's like, oh man. And that river, that lake has a current going through it from the weir. The water was just over the weir going into the river. So we're dealing with a current pulling us away from the boat ramp and can't drive. So I had to stand on the back of the boat and steer, hold the motor and steer it for us getting back. Like I said, things happen gator hunting. I mean, we've had a guy almost go in where the gator gets up there and starts doing his death roll with a mule tape on him, and he thinks he can overpower the gator and just locks up and holds it as tight as he can. I promise you, his nose got that close to the water, like coming all the way down. And something happened. I'm still not sure exactly what happened, but he come back like a spring and like falls in the boat, breaks a rod and a reel, and spreads out, and like the gator's off, and they're like, "Oh man!" And luckily, of course, if you fight a gator long enough and he gets off, he's coming back up very quick. I mean, he's out of breath. He's free. He's like, "Okay, I'm popping up and I'm running, on top of the water so I can breathe." And he popped up not far at all. We got another hook in him, but yeah, that was one of those crazy nights that I thought he was going in.
I heard you've mentioned a couple times that you've dealt with some outfitters. Is that like people that you've met through your business, or just trips that you went on and met these people?
Yeah, so most of all my gator outfitters and stuff, they're business clients and stuff that order hooks, and I build a relationship with everybody that I try to do business with. And, eventually, I get invites, "Hey, man, come check this out," or, anything like that. So, I mean, like, one of the guys was hunting in a gator farm and called me and said, "Dude, your hooks are bending, like, on small gators." I'm like, "Dude, we've caught, like, 12 plus and multiple gators on my hooks and haven't bent a single one of them. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. Maybe you got a bad batch." He said, "Why don't you come down here and see it for yourself?" I was like, "All right, I'm on my way." So I went down there and hung out one weekend, and we went bow fishing and, hog hunting and caught a bunch of gators and had a good time. And sure enough, right off the bat, my hooks were bending, and I was like, "This is weird." But it was a combination of, we're standing on the bank and we're not in a boat, so we don't have any give. And because the gators in this farm has holes and stuff that they can get under and breathe and not come back up, and you can't let them get to those holes, so your drag's tightened all the way down, and it was just they were bending, and that's kind of what happened with my 6/0 hooks. They were like, "If you can get us this hook with your lead on it, we'll be happy." And I was like, "Okay." So I came home and called my guy and said, "Look, we're building another mold," and got some hooks in and made the 6s. So they're 5X strong, and they're not bending it. That's what they use now, and they order hooks from me all the time. And and I've been down there twice with them, and I set up a business deal with another outfitter where he was kind of distributing to all the retail stores in the area. And of course, he invites me to come down one weekend and kind of see behind the scenes deal. And it was really cool because we had hunters coming in, and one guy wanted to bow hunt hogs, and I got to go hang a stand. I mean, I got to hang a stand. I mean, that's what I love doing anyway. So,
absolutely. Now you're talking my language a little bit.
Yeah. We had this one tree, and there's no cover. And, the outfitter, the helper, was hanging out with it. And he's like, "Man, I don't know. That's the only tree we can get it in, but we ain't got no cover." I said, "I got this." There was a bunch of palmettos around. So I went over and started snipping palmettos and threading them through the expanded metal on the bottom of the stand, kind of made like a little blind up there for him. And the guy killed a hog. So
that's awesome.
I want to ask you one more question about gators, and I'm going to have Brett kind of take over for deer hunting stuff. You can see he's a big deer killer back there. Is gator hunting really like it is on TV?
No.
I mean, no. I mean, no. I know they're running like the hang lines or whatever, and you guys are doing it a little different, but a lot of that's fake, isn't it?
Well, in a sense, yeah. I mean, I will say this. So, of course, talking to people from Louisiana and dealing with them and stuff, a lot of times they can pull those gators up off the bottom, and they've been fighting. They're kind of tired. And you get there quietly, and just ease the gator up to the top of the water. You can get your shot on him, like when he surfaces and he's not thrashing and stuff like that. I mean, they catch the gators and bring them up and kind of, I won't say aggravate them. Of course, I don't have any, but from all the guys I've talked to, they're like, no, they don't do that. But I do know that, talking to some of the people that are on the show, they send all their content in that they can, and then it's edited kind of outside of their control. They're not producing the show; they're just on the show. But no, when they're catching them, throwing the hand lines and stuff like that and fighting them, I mean, all that's 100% real. And of course, when they're shooting them, I mean, that part of it's real. I'll say the only fake part, or not necessarily fake, but kind of
highly edited.
Yeah, is the thrashing when they come up. I mean, they do that, but it's kind of encouraged for the gator to kind of act out a little bit.
I get that. I never really thought about like them taking the footage and then sending it to the, the producer or whatever, and then putting in what they want. But yeah, it makes sense. They're not editing the photos or the video.
Right.
Yeah. Brett, you want to jump into some whitetails?
Absolutely. So, when does your guys' season start down there in Mississippi?
On Friday, October 1st.
There you go. So does ours, and I am more than ready to get in the stands.
That makes one of us. I mean, I'm ready to, but I'm not ready.
Now, what kind of things do you get into in the off season to prepare for deer season on October 1st?
Well, of course, running all my food plot stuff, getting all that stuff prepared, of course. But as far as like preparing for the bow season, because I'm mostly bow hunt. I mean, I do some rifle hunting and black powder muzzleloader hunting, but my big thing is archery. And so, of course, I've got a ladder stand set up and I've got a ground blind set up, and I shoot 3D targets during the summer. Not every day or anything like that, but maybe 1 or 2 days a week I'll slip out there for 30 minutes and shoot. And then now, like coming up this week, I'm trying to shoot every day 3D targets. I had a problem where I missed two really nice bucks back to back, like 30 minutes apart. And it was, it was on me. I pulled. I mean, I admit all that, but it made me realize that the only time I shoot is when I'm standing on the ground shooting at a circle on a square. And at that point, I shoot, standing down. I sight my bow in that way at the beginning of the season, make sure I'm hitting bullseye. Mm-hmm. And that's the last time I'll shoot at a square target standing on the ground. From then on, I'm shooting 3D targets out of a stand, elevated position, or I'm sitting down in my ground blind shooting 3D targets. And I move my distances to, I'm not going to shoot it at 20, 30, 40. I'll put it at different ranges. So it's, I kind of got a double pinning sometimes. Try to make it as real as I can make it. And that's what I do to prepare.
Right. Talk about shooting, from elevation like you're going to be when you're hunting. I feel like that's a very common mistake with people just starting bow hunting and people that have been doing it forever. You got to compensate for that angle, but
right.
Maybe you haven't been in that situation a whole bunch. I'm the guy that I hunt with most of the time. He hasn't really had a lot of those experiences, and I try to teach him as much as I can, but you're right. Set a ladder stand up or a lock on or something in your yard if you got a tree to do it, and get that simulation. Get them used to shooting from that 15, 20 foot up, because you don't want to miss that big buck when it comes in, or if maybe it's just a doe
That's
you're
right.
shooting at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you got to practice like you're gonna play, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You got to, and I didn't do it for years. I mean, I ran a bow shop for Mossy Oak in college for 3 years. And I didn't shoot 3D targets out of a stand during that time. But I went down to some public land in the Mississippi Delta and caught it on the right day where the bucks were moving and cruising, and had grunted one in 30 yards. As soon as I shot, I pulled I pulled my bow down and shot right under him, and then had one at 40 yards and shot. And he saw me draw back, and I put it on his neck and shot, and he kind of pulled his head back, and I missed him. But both were on me, I mean, that wasn't my bow or anything else. But like I said, I was like, man, shooting at a deer is different because, you got a gap below him, and it's just not the same. Where exactly am I going to aim? And I just stopped shooting square targets at that time and just went 3D.
What kind of terrain features are you hunting there? Like here in Indiana, it's really weird. Me and him have talked about it before. You get, the top half of Indiana is like totally different than the southern half of Indiana, like where he's at. Where I'm at, there's smaller tracts of land, just little bitty pieces all over the place. Hard timber. I hunt a lot of river bottoms. What kind of terrain are you hunting down there in Mississippi?
So we have a lot of diversity in our terrain. Of course, I grew up on the edge of Mississippi Delta, and it's all flat, big fields, and then you have like blocks of timber, and I'll hunt public land down there. Like one of the blocks I hunt is like it's 38,000 acre block. And right there's several refuges. I mean, if you look at it on a map, it's like, all farmland, and this is a huge block of green right there. It's all these refuges. And it's, flat land, sloughs, slashes, a lot of water. especially in the wintertime, you may walk a quarter mile through ankle deep water just to get to a ridge or something, where you're not walking through water, hunting in water. But that's the Delta side of it. Then, you come over to like North Mississippi where I lived for a few years, like right when I got my driver's license and was hunting all over the place. And it's, a lot of like really, really steep hills, like hills and hollers, it's northern Mississippi side, and pines everywhere. You find a good hardwood patch, you've got something. And now I'm kind of central Mississippi, and it's more rolling hills type, but it's a ton of pine plantations what we have, and so like most of our hardwoods privately owned. Most of them have already been logged out and planted in pines. But we do have some areas, with good hardwoods, good public land right here at the house. It's a big refuge. That's all mostly hardwoods. It's got some pines in it.
So say somebody put a gun to your head, said gator hunting or deer hunting. Which one you picking?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, there's nothing better than that rut. But you know what? I mean, I think I'd have to. Ooh, can gator season be longer than 10 days?
Right.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'd probably pick gator hunting just because it's just become a huge passion of mine. Really, I started with the hooks, and it just kind of dumb luck took off. But it's pulled me so much into the sport, just by having something that contributes to the sport. I'm always talking gator hunting with somebody, and it's just kind of just naturally kind of made that progression over to gator hunting and talking about gator hunting all the time. But I mean, that's a hard one. I mean, it's hard to beat a good deer hunt.
I know. I hate when people ask me that question, but we're with different things like turkey hunting or deer hunting. It's like, why are you gonna make me pick? I like both of them,
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, I'd probably pick deer hunting. It's just a pure passion that I can't shake for anything. I'm like a crackhead on the street when it comes to deer hunting.
That's right. I got a bunch of buddies. They're big into duck hunting, and I'm about quit deer hunting because of duck hunting. And they were asking me about it. I'm like, dude, the problem with Mississippi is when the ducks finally get here, it's the rut. Like, and I'm not going to miss morning deer hunting, the rut for a duck, or, maybe I hunt hard for a couple of days. Like, I'm going to take a break off and go with y'all in the morning. But, for the most part, I'm deer hunting.
Right. I know we were talking some culinary with the gator meat. Have you ever made any kind of dish where you combined like gator meat and deer meat in the same dish, maybe?
I mean, not in the same dish, but I have done where like, we butterfly the backstrap and cook it on the grill and then cook the gator meat as appetizers while the grill's going. I mean, we've done that several times, but as far as a dish where you kind of mix the two, I haven't.
Right. I was just curious if that was a thing.
No, I mean, I'm sure some people do, but I haven't. It's kind of its own little thing. I don't know how they actually go together. I mean, they kind
of two different type of things. One's kind of lighter than the other one.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you ever? I know you mentioned you were going to go hunt in Kentucky. Is it this year or next year?
So I'm gonna try to get to Kentucky late this season. Unfortunately, as nice as my job is at the power plant, there's two things that's going to happen in a power plant every year, and that's the outage. And you're going to have one in the spring and one in the fall because that's when the cooler weather is, and you don't have to run your AC as much. You're not using as much electricity, so you don't need as many plants. And this year we have a major outage on our steam turbine. We're going to go down and work on it. And so I just started Monday a 12-week outage. So for the next 12 weeks, I will work 6 days a week, unfortunately. So my trips to Kentucky this year has been kind of set on one of those deals where maybe I get to go, maybe I don't. I'm not 100%. I know that I should. I'm planning on partnering up with a buddy of mine and doing a lease in Kentucky next year because I can be, the eastern side of Kentucky, like over there in Benton, Kentucky, around Land of the Lakes and, all that. I can be there in 5 hours. And so we're looking for something a little bit south from that, kind of in that area to do a lease. And that way we can get a velvet hunt in or whatever, and then just have the year to go up there and finish filling the tag.
I bet you there's some working guys that listen to this podcast. Give them some advice on what to do when you got to work 6 days a week when it's like bow season starts in 2 days.
You hope you can get it done before time change. You got a couple minutes. I'm fortunate enough. I got 40 acres I live on. Me and my dad own. I own 25. He owns 15. And when he bought his 15, he bought me a bulldozer. Bought me a bulldozer. And I went out there and it was all cut over, like behind, backyard and shops and a pond. And the other side of that, it was all cut over. And his side was completely cut over. And I went in there and made 2 food plots for the property. One of them's 5 acres and one of them's 3 acres. And I left a bunch of oak trees and stuff all out in the middle as I was going through there with a bulldozer. And I've got, like I said, a couple bucks back there, but my girlfriend hopefully gets one of those this year, and I'll kind of take the back seat for a little while. But yeah, I mean, that's the plan is to get one killed in the afternoon. Get home. I get home about 5:30 from work, and so I can run in the shop, throw some camo on, grab the bow, and then sneak out behind the house, and hopefully get it done by 6:30 or 7. So that's the only thing I got going right now. Hunt on Sundays after church or something. Try to get afternoon hunt then.
I know me and Brett have talked about why nobody wants to come to Indiana to hunt. We're like the overlooked state. Why do you choose Kentucky instead of Indiana? I'm just curious. Is it because the velvets?
No, not at all. So back to the outfitting thing, the helper guy that I was telling you I hung the stand with, he actually left that place and went back because his hometown is Benton and started an outfitting business. And so his first year, I kind of linked up with him. And I got a buddy that's got property there. And it's closer for me. It's a closer drive. But no, I mean, I've hunted, like this year, I've been to Texas twice. I've been to Montana. I've been to Florida. So no, traveling's not, distance isn't a problem or anything like that. I would love to hunt Indiana, actually. Last year I hunted Illinois, right really close to like that corner down there by Indiana and Kentucky, right there.
That's down by me.
Yeah, it was it's beautiful country. I hunted for 5 days and it was pre-rut kind of. I mean, some of the smaller bucks were doing their thing, kind of chasing and scraping and stuff. Never had an opportunity. I did shoot a doe. I texted the guy and I went to one spot and he's like, yeah, I don't have any big bucks on that spot. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was sitting there and I've been practicing 3D targets. Of course, I was shooting 65 yards at the house and drilling it. And I was like, I never take that shot in the woods. No. And of course, I'm up there. It's different terrain. I'm overlooking and there's a combine guy cutting in the field next to me. And he pulls out and comes over and he's cutting like right here, right now. And I'm like, dang, he's, so maybe he'll push a deer out on top of me. Well, it's all good. And this doe comes out and she's feeding. There's 2 trees, it's 65 yards. And I was like, man, if she gets by that corn stalk, I could try that. It's open. They got background noise going. I text the guy. I said, hey, man, can I shoot in that field? He's like, yeah, go for it. But how far is that? And I was like, it's 65 yards. He's like, you'll never make that shot. All right. Smoked her. And she ran away like 50 yards and dropped. And I was like, yeah. He was like, he was actually running corn right at that time. They were harvesting too. And he was like, man, it's going to be like an hour and a half where I can break away unloading these trucks and get over there to you. And I was like, man, it's fine. I got it. It was a little bit of a walk. So, of course, my country self, I go and I skin the deer out and I only make a slit, from, joint to joint on the backside, peel it back, hang the meat in the tree, and then use the hide as my bag and make a backpack and come on out with it. And threw the meat in the cooler and texted him and said, hey, man, I got the deer back. He's like, all right, well, you can go hang it up in the meat locker. I was like, no, man, like it's in the cooler, like skin out. He's like, do what? I sent him a picture I took, a selfie I took, with the deer as a backpack. And he's like, what kind of Paul Bunyan crap are y'all doing? I was like, oh, man, you got to do what you got to do. So it was a fun hunt. The guy's a great guy. It just didn't work out. I mean, I've been with outfitters and like immediately our own bucks, but kind of my MO that seems to always happen, especially on whitetail hunts. Last morning of the hunt, fisting to go home, it always happens for me. So, I mean, typically. So, I was kind of putting that in my back pocket. It didn't work out for that trip. But, no, I plan on getting up to Indiana and want to hunt Ohio. I mean, I want to hit all the states. So.
Yeah, maybe if you ever come up here, maybe we'll pound some public ground together. I don't know. Maybe you get up to southern Indiana. Brett's more up north, but I'm right on Kentucky and Illinois. I'm only about 30 minutes from Illinois and about 15 minutes from Kentucky. So,
nice.
And I'm right next to Ohio, basically. So we can hit all 3 of them.
Is Ohio? That's a draw stage, is that right? You got draw tags?
No, you can take over the counter there.
Oh, nice.
We were actually we were actually kind of talking, me, him, and another guy, and a couple other guys. Actually, we're kind of thinking about doing like a weekend camp somewhere on public ground in Ohio, kind of like some YouTubers getting together, guys that do podcasts, and having a fun weekend. Drinking some beers by a campfire. Hopefully, somebody kills one. But
That's right.
Ohio is definitely something that I want to get done this year. Hopefully, I can get it done here early enough to be able to go out there. But
Man, y'all killing me with all this time to go hunting. I think I've got, of course, I think I have one weekend in December that I'm, available to hunt, and then I've got like 2 in January, which is lines up with the Mississippi rut. So it's going to be, the opportunities I get to hunt are going to be prime time, but it's, until then, I'll probably get a Saturday off here and there during the outage. It's just so long. We, in the middle, kind of catch a lull. Hopefully I'll get a Saturday off to go do some deer hunting, but if I do have an opportunity to take a Saturday off, probably gonna spend it with my kids versus, hunting. I don't get to have them all the time. So anytime I get a chance to, I definitely pick them over hunting, but if that's all taken care of, I'll be going somewhere hunting. So,
yeah.
Do y'all have hogs?
Not very many. I mean, very few.
I've never seen one, but they're supposed to be around here. Have you ever seen one, Brett, out?
I have not. I've hunted southern Indiana a lot where they supposedly are. I do a lot of turkey hunting down there, and I've never seen a hog.
Well, if that's something y'all want to get in on, I can. We can do some public land like hog hunting out of a tree stand, deer hunt / hog hunt. And then if we decide we're not gonna, not down for sitting in the stand, we can always spot and stalk because they can't. As long as you got the wind right, you can slip up on them 20, 30 yards and get an area in one of them, and it's exciting.
What's that cost for an out-of-state guy?
So yeah, I mean, like you're, and of course, I think it's all season for the year is like $300. But of course, hogs you don't need tags for. I think the deer tag is like $5 maybe. But you can get like if you do like a 7-day tag, I think it's $150 maybe for a 7-day all game, and then of course you have to buy like your deer tag or something.
Yeah.
And if we go on one of those refuges that the hogs are just thick in, it's a $20 permit for resident or non-resident to buy a permit for there. And I've got a buddy who's got a big campground set up, got a bar there that they cook some really good burgers, especially coming out of the woods.
That sounds.
And anyway, we can set up the campers and all, and go down there and do some public land hunting. And they've got some truly world class bucks. I mean, this buck right here, the big one, he come off of there. I mean, he was a 138 7-point. So he didn't have any brow times. He would have been a 9. But I've killed some big pigs in there. I mean, I've shot some sows, but I've killed several pigs over 200. Field dress, right over 200 pounds. So it's pretty awesome slipping up on a pig because there's going to be a group of them, like 20 or 30 of them, and you got to hit them just right, or you got to have the right broadhead. Don't shoot a swacker at a big boar. Don't do it.
You shooting mechanicals at those or fixed?
Fixed. I mean, I swapped over and I haven't had an opportunity at a big boar. But I love a swacker bow hunting. I mean, that's just my broadhead of choice. I've seen too many evidence and killed too many deer with them. Mm-hmm. I've killed a pretty big boar hog with one, and it was like a suction cup on the end of my area. It hit him right behind the shoulder. Well, there's no way I killed him. He ran over and fell over. I'm like, oh, sweet. But I've probably had 5 big boars walk off or toe a swacker. And I shot one in the skull, and he ran off like a unicorn. He was 18 yards. I stalked him, and I was trying to get a shot at a sow because I knew I'd left my muzzies back at the tree. At that time, I took like 2 muzzies for whatever shooting, And so I was like, oh, man, I left my muzzies. All I got is the swacker. I was like, well, I'm shooting a sow because I have to get that big plate. And the swackers will kill a sow, no problem. But anyways, so this boar is walking in, and he's a big one. I mean, he's got these huge cutters on him. I'm like, oh, man, I wish I had my muzzies, And he keeps walking straight at me. And I'm watching the group come across, and I'm like, what am I going to do here? And I range this tree, and it's 19 yards, and he come right around that tree and like head down eating right in front of me. And I was like, headshot. And I mean, I put it, boom, right there. And he looks at me, kind of stumbles back and runs over and stops and then trots off like a unicorn, like all the air sticking out of the front of his head.
That's wild.
It's crazy, but I mean, and sometimes, I've had those situations where I'm stalking like a single boar, and he'll back into a tree shot and start chomping his jaws, and you're like, "No, I'm not going to find out if you're as bad as you think you are, buddy." He's back out of there.
Right.
So it's pretty fun. If y'all get an opportunity to come down, I mean, we could definitely, if we do like a 2 or 3 day hunt, like you'll have opportunity at a pig. Like that's not you might have opportunity at a 140-inch deer, but you'll have opportunity at a pig.
I've never shot one. Have you, Brett?
No, actually, I have a trip planned for late December, early January. I'm going to South Carolina and doing some hog hunting there with a buddy that I had on my podcast last week. And I've never been hog hunting before. He sends me videos all the time now from his trail cameras, and they're running around like crazy. And I'm excited. And I appreciate the information on the broadheads things because I shot Muzzy for 18 years, and then I switched up and started shooting a mechanical blood sport, and which works amazing on deer. And I'll definitely put my Muzzies back on and go shoot some hogs.
Yeah, I mean, their hides that thick on their shoulders as boar hogs. I mean, I think like Native Americans actually use it as shields,
Right.
getting through all that gristle and stuff. So yeah, the mechanical it takes all your kinetic energy away, getting through that shield.
Right.
And so if you got to cut on contact, you get that penetration.
Right. About like trying to shoot a rhino.
Yeah. So is that what y'all are? Are y'all gonna bow hunt, or y'all gonna hogs with dogs, or y'all doing thermals, or
No, we're bow hunting.
Nice.
I think he said that their deer season goes out. I want to say January 1st, so I'm gonna try to hit it before then and do kind of like what you were talking, a combo kind of deal. But he sends me a lot of pictures, and him and his family have pretty good success on deer in South Carolina. I'm just not interested in it. It's a whole different game down there. Them bucks don't get very big. The bodies don't get very big. It's just not something I'm interested in. But the hogs I'm all in on. I want to shoot a couple of those. I think it'd be a blast.
Oh, it's a blast. If you get an opportunity to ever do the hog deal with the dogs, you get on some of that. That's pretty, intense. Grabbing the pig and flipping him and then stabbing him. That's pretty intense.
I've seen a lot of videos on that. That's pretty wild. What's your thought? Do they run dogs for deer where you live?
Yes.
Yeah, I can already tell that your answer is about what I got in my mind already.
Let's touch on that. I'm curious too.
I mean, you got two types of dog hunters. You've got the guys that do it the right way. I mean, it's a tradition. I have no problem with keeping the tradition alive. I mean, I think that's absolutely okay. And then of course, you got the guy who says, "Well, dog don't know property lines," but you just dropped him off on the road, ran him across the property that I'm hunting, and sitting on the gravel road on the backside of the property waiting for him to cross. And that's the guys that do give the guys that are running dogs for deer a bad name. But I mean, that's only a handful, but they stick out so much. I mean, it's just like a bad apple in the batch. But I've been in hunting clubs where, it's 3,000, 10,000 acre clubs, that do run dogs. And they turn the dogs out in the middle of the club. And, if they're getting close to the edge, they've got them on tracking collars and they're running over there to cut them off, or they've got the beepers on them where, that beeps, the dogs stop and they turn around and go back towards, where they came from. Those guys, they're doing it for tradition. I mean, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, running and gunning the roads and, kind of running in, know he's going to hit this block. So you jump in the truck, you run over here, you get out and you run off in the woods and hit a trail and, you wait for him to cross that trail. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. So I think that tradition should stay alive. I just feel like that, the few that I've ran into when I've got a full 100-acre block and I'm trying to still hunt in, and I've done everything all year long and went in there and hinge cut in the summertime, making my bedding areas and set my food plots up and, done everything you can do to be successful. And then you got a guy dropping, 10 dogs off at the road and running around there to get on the backside of you and shoot them out from under you. That puts a bad taste in your mouth, but it's not all of
them. Right. I get the tradition thing. I think it would be fun to a certain extent on the traditions part of it. Maybe you do it a certain weekend and your buddies are all camping together or something like that. But deer hunting to me is the tactics when it comes to it. You're putting yourself in a precise location that you've scouted for years or over the summer, and you're finding sign and funnels and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like when you go to try to get on these big bucks, it's a chess match. It's not checkers, it's chess, and
That's 100%.
you gotta play it a certain way. And I don't think I would like the dog thing. I would like to go and check it out, like you were saying, but deer hunting to me is a chess game, and I think I like to keep it that way.
That's right. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, right here at the house, when we have a couple blocks and people run dogs in, and I hardly ever see any dogs come across my property. Very, very rarely. But to be honest with you, as soon as the rifle season opens up, it's when dog season opens up. And after that first weekend, man, your deer are almost all nocturnal. I mean, you can about guarantee it, they're going nocturnal, and then you're basically waiting until the rut to get lucky, But that's why I love bow hunting down the Delta. I mean, it's public land, you got to walk and you got to deal with certain stuff. But at the end of the day, they're never hearing a dog run a deer. They don't change up their patterns. You can hunt them like your tactics. I mean, of course, you can't run cameras down there, but you can follow your trails and you can get your pinch points and you can find your sign and your scrape line and you can hunt and the deer act like they're supposed to. They're not just straight nocturnal.
Right.
So
it's getting kind of late. I'm sure you guys got to work in the morning and everything. Brett, do you have any closing thoughts or any last questions?
No, it's a pleasure to meet you on everything. I might have to take you up on that hog hunt one of these days.
Yeah, man, do it.
Or a gator hunt. I would love you to take me up and show me this gator stuff, man.
Man, yeah, I would love that. I mean, of course, if with our tags so limited in Mississippi, I mean, we may can set something up in Mississippi, but if not, I mean, we may can try to set something up in Florida. I've done that several times too.
That'd be really cool, man.
Yeah, but you get an opportunity. If you ever get invited to go on a gator hunt, you drop everything and go do it. Just you got to, man. It's incredible.
I'm game.
Brett, can you tell everybody where to find you on social, and then as well as your podcast, in case somebody else is looking for a hunting podcast to listen to? You got some good content over there.
Yeah, thanks, man. You can find us just about anywhere on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and then you can also find us on Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, all the podcast places. And we usually do about one show a week. Tomorrow I have a inspiring country music artist that's a diehard deer hunter and bow hunter to come on and talk a little bit about what he's got going on at his Illinois lease. So it'd definitely be a cool episode.
Cool. And then Hunter, can you tell everybody where to find you and maybe your business and all that stuff on Facebook?
Yeah, so you can find my business. Of course, we're working on our official website. We haven't finished it yet. Like, this started out last month and blew up pretty quick. But if you need it, if you decide to want to get some hooks or something, just hit me up on Facebook. Shoot me a message at Hunter's Shop, and you can find me on Instagram at GatorTaker Hooks. And of course, I've got YouTube, GatorTaker Hook Productions, where I'm putting a couple videos up and stuff, and of course TikTok as well. Just kind of got that ball rolling. But it's a lot of fun on there. So yeah, my main two is Instagram and Facebook. And so look me up on there if you want to interested in the hooks, watch some, I try to post a lot of customers' pictures send me, or tag me in it. So there's always something Gator related going on there.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know this is kind of a last minute thing for both of you guys. So yeah, I really do appreciate it. I think it's a good episode and some good content for people. Like I said, I didn't know anything about gator hunting other than what I've watched on TV. So it's good to hear like a firsthand account, especially from somebody that makes gear for the gator hunting industry.
Yeah, man, it's fun to do. I know, I don't know. I think I may have sent you the video, but there's on my YouTube channel, GatorTaker Productions, there is a video I put on there, and it's a little lengthy. But I did try to make sure I didn't edit out too much, so it wasn't a highlight reel. So you kind of got an idea of what's really going on with a gator hunt. It's more, I don't know, I wouldn't say documentary style, but I mean, it's more of everything that's into it versus just, cool little shots and stuff. So get a chance to check it out. It's going to be more of what you're actually going to deal with when you're gator hunting.
Well, thanks again, guys. And maybe I'll catch up with you, Hunter, later on, maybe wintertime or spring, and we'll kind of see how your season went, see if you ended up killing those bucks on those food plots you've been putting together.
Right on, man.
Okay. Thanks again, Brett, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll see ya.